Absolutely. All right. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our facilitator for today. And I must thank Mr. Henry for joining our conversation. But let me just read his profile. So Chukwu Nonso Henry Udeh is a dedicated HR professional with a deep passion for people development. Currently, he serves as the Performance and People Services Advisor at Promasido, where he plays a pivotal role in shaping the organization's HR strategy. His career journey includes key roles at the Big Bottling Company Limited as an HR executive and AIG Media Pro as an HR assistant, showcasing his diverse experience in the HR field. Chukwu Nonso is a certified human resource professional from the European Business Institute, Luxembourg. He holds a postgraduate degree in human resources management from the Chartered Institute of Human Resources Management, and is an associate member of the same institute, initially pursuing a degree in computer science at Ebonyi State University, Abakaliki. His profound interest in people development led him to successfully transition into the HR field. Recognized as a LinkedIn top voice in resume writing and job search strategy, Chukwu Nonso has distinguished himself in guiding young professionals through the complexities of career advancement, and he has provided personalized guidance to over 1,000 young professionals, empowering them to navigate interviews and job applications with confidence. So I want us to drop in the chat box and welcome Mr. Henry Udeh. Please, with your best emoji, your favorite emoji, please welcome him, welcome him, welcome him. And today he's going to be taking us on interview preparation, acing your job interviews. And again, like I said, please just welcome in the chat box. I want to thank you very specially, Mr. Henry, for agreeing to be a part of this and committing your knowledge and experience to be a part of this bootcamp. And we trust definitely by the time we're done, we would have, I know we're going to, even me, I'm learning. I came here to learn. So even though I'm organizing, I actually came here to learn. So my notes is ready. So thank you very much, Mr. Henry. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Olufumi, for the opportunity. I mean, I've always been extending my gratitude to you because, again, this for me is more or less a thing I'm passionate about. It just excites me to want to share my knowledge and experience around, interviews and helping job seekers, clinch and secure their job opportunities. Because, again, at every point in our career journey, we've had series of experience, that has helped us to understand why we do the things we do. And this for me is just one of it. I've had my own fair share of rejection when it comes to job application and the like. And so each time I am called upon to do things like this is such a delight. And so this is me saying thank you, Olufumi, and thank you to MyLEAPS initiative team for bringing me here. And thank you everyone for joining the call. Please let me know if I'm audible.
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear and see you perfectly.
Great. I mean, the Nigeria thing would always happen, light and all, but then again, we move, regardless of the situation with electricity. I will be sharing my screen, and this evening we're going to be, having conversations around how to basically ace interviews. And this conversation basically is interesting for me because I sort of want to say that if I'm allowed to give a theme for this conversation, it would be cracking the interview code. I don't know if anybody heard that. If you catch that, please let me see your emojis. Cracking the interview code. Do we have programmers in the house? Do we have tech bros and sis in the house? You know what it means to, crack codes as it's where. I can't see anybody's comment, but then again, please let me know if you can see my screen. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Oh, fantastic. So I like to term this conversation as cracking the interview code. And I'm sure that this would relate and resonate with every one of us on this call. And for our tech bros and techies, interestingly, I also have a tech background. So this makes it the more interesting for me, right? So the interview in itself is some sort of decrypted, it is encrypted rather. And there are tools that we need to, arm ourselves with in order to encrypt the interview code, and that's why we are having this section this evening. I'm pretty sure this conversation we are having is something that would be beneficial to everyone on this call. I hear Olufumi already saying that having spent 10 years in her career, she still wants to learn. Olufumi, I'm wondering where you want to go to again, please.
I want to go to C-suit.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic. All right, so without further ado, I mean, why is the interview process in itself why is this conversation important for us to discuss? Why is it imperative for us on this call to have a conversation around this? And so this would basically form the basics of my conversation and discussion with you all this evening. Of course, I would have to introduce the conversation. I would also share tips on what you should do before the interview. I will share top 7 interview questions and sample interview answers alongside, and then what you should also do after the interview. Then, of course, I'm pretty sure that quite a number of you here would have questions, and so we would give room for questions and answers so you can also, share your questions and answer. And please, I like to say this. Olufemi mentioned the other time that HR people are whatever she had said. I didn't want to mention it, but hey, please, we are here to help you. We are here to support you in your career journey. So please debunk the bias, all of those bias and the myth and all of that you've heard about HR professionals, please. All right, so let's move on. What exactly is an interview? And I would like someone to just quickly share. Maybe you could just unmute your device or maybe share in the chat box. What do you consider as an interview? Of course, there's no right or wrong answer because this is you basically sharing from your perspective, right? So, does anyone want to indulge us tonight? I'll be checking the chat section just to be sure that I'm catching up with. Oh, great! I can see your comment. I call it HR Expo. Oh, fantastic! Olufemi HR Expo. All right, we are in to expose this. All right, so I mean, can someone on the call share with us what you understand by interview in itself? I'm pretty sure one way or the other, we've attended job interviews. We've seen, even if it's not job interviews, sometimes we've seen interviews on the TV, on the screen, on the roadside, and all of that. So, what does interview actually mean to you?
Sorry, Mr. Harry, I don't think they're able to unmute, but if
Oh,
anybody wants to speak, they can just raise their digital hand and I will unmute them.
fantastic. So I can see Lindiwe. Lindiwe is saying it is an opportunity to get to know each. I want to believe you're referring to each other. Wow, fantastic. Daniel is saying an interview is a process to examine applicants for a job. Fantastic. Jennifer, I see your comments. Interview for me is a process by which an employer gets to know their intended employee. This is just so spot on. And I feel like gifting you something already. Maybe after this conversation, I'll sort of do a free CV review for the first 3 responses. So Olufumi, please take note of the first 3 persons that responded: Lindiwe, Daniel, and Jennifer. I'll be doing a free CV review for all of them. So please do well to
Wow.
get your
Wow.
gift from me.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. I can see other comments, but I mean, who knows? There may be other gifts in the pipeline. Let's move on. Okay, so I mean, you had shared it already, you had said it. The interview process basically speaks to a formal conversation between a job applicant, of course, a candidate, and a potential employer. And then why do we actually need this to happen, right? Basically, the process of an interview requires us as employers, of course, I'm speaking from the employer perspective because as an HR professional, I represent the employer in an interview panel. And so, what I do in that interview panel is to assess the candidate's skills, experience, personality, and to also determine if this candidate is an ideal fit for my company and then on the job, right? And so that's what the interview basically, entails. It involves me getting to know who I'm actually hiring, knowing the person, and to also, ascertain if this person is suitable for the role and is fit for my company. And of course, the interview process requires quite a number of stages, but I will not want to bore you with that. But I want to say this very quickly. Why an interview is imperative in the job application process. I've seen your comments. I've seen where some of you mentioned that, yeah, it is an opportunity for employer to get to know the employee. Now, the reason why we get to ask you some of the questions we ask you in the interview, I've heard candidates say sometimes the questions interviewers ask are not necessary and all of that. But guess what? They may not be necessary to you, but for us, they are necessary. They are pertinent. Those questions we ask you are pertinent. And what do we do with those questions? It helps us ascertain your communication skills. How fluent are you with, speaking, communication? How are you able to make your point clearly and, unambiguously to the panelists and to, anybody you basically come across with? So the reason why we get to, have that interview as part of the job application process is to test your communication skills. So if you're on this call and you have an interview to prepare for, and you're not so good with your communication skills, the very first thing you need to do at this point in time is to improve on your communication skills, because that's what the interview process would, test. So other than the fact that we want to see how suitable you are for the job, we also want to see how well you can communicate your points, and your ideas, your thoughts, and all of that. And it is also imperative that I say that one of the reasons why we get to ask questions during interviews to also ascertain the candidate's ability to think on the spot, the ability for the candidate to, use his mind, his intuition to respond to problems. Because again, when you join an organizations do not want to bring candidates or employees who cannot solve problem, who would rather cause more problem for the organization. And so employers have interview process in place just to ascertain if this candidate has the ability to think on the spot and provide solution to certain challenges that they may experience while on the job. And then finally, this is just super important. Every other thing will not make sense if this is missing. And what is that? Boldness and confidence. We have quite a number of people who are, well spoken, they are analytical when it comes to thinking, they are creative, but they have a thing or two to do with boldness. Some of them are shy, they are timid, and so they are not able to express themselves. This is one of the things we check out for during an interview. So if you're going in for your next interview, you will need to bear these three things in mind, especially the very last thing, boldness. How confident are you in your ability? How confident are you in yourself? And I would like to digress a little, right? I've had experiences before where if you had met me, say, few years ago, 5 years ago, I mean, I would say for a fact that I used to be a timid person. I'm not able to mingle with people. I'm not able to communicate with people. I used to be timid. I used to be shy and all of that. But then I knew that, hey, the career path I'm going to be, building for myself, I do not need that timidity. I need that boldness to be able to meet and communicate well with people, because boldness is one of the things you need to thrive even in your career. And guess what? One of the things that would help you develop your boldness and your confidence is self-awareness. When you understand yourself, understand your abilities, when you have a clear picture of who you are as a person, it has a way of, boosting your confidence level and your boldness level. So if you're on this call, you're struggling with your confidence level and your boldness level before going into your next interview, you need to do a self-evaluation to ascertain your strength, your weakness, and to just help you understand yourself better, because that's the best way you can actually build your confidence and boldness. Are we making sense so far? Oh, I can see questions already dropping in. Oh, fantastic. Please, we would address some of these questions. So please do also just keep them in mind. When we ask for your questions, you can now bring them up. Okay, so of course, I mean, there are quite a number of interviews. We have phone interviews, video interviews, panel interviews, technical interview, and behavioral interview. All of these interviews put together helps us to ascertain if the candidate is an ideal fit for the role. Now, what are those actions you should take before the interview? Because we are now beginning to unravel, we are now beginning to encrypt that decrypted code, that decrypted interview code, and I'm beginning to expose, that nitty gritties that you should basically know before you get into an interview. So, foremost, when you see an invitation for an interview from a potential employer, the very first thing you should do is don't just rejoice, don't just be all excited at all. You need to foremost research the company. I mean, we are in Nigeria, and I'm pretty sure that some of you on this call would have heard situations where
Sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Henry, but what we are
yes.
seeing on the screen is the Zoom class, not your slides.
Oh wow.
I just thought to point that out.
Wow. Great. Thanks for calling that my attention to that. Can you see my slide now?
We are still seeing your screen, the Zoom meeting.
Oh,
So, if you click on share screen, you now need to go to where your document is.
absolutely. I know that's where
Yeah.
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. Well. I mean, you should be able to see my entire screen at this point, right?
Yes, we can see your slides now. We are
My
currently,
slide.
yes, your slides, yes. So we're seeing actions to take before the interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So now back to the conversation. Actions to take before the interview. Now, you would agree with me that the world is becoming, we are beginning to see terrible things happen in the country where kidnappers disguise themselves as employers, potential employers. They reach out to candidates, and we've seen quite a number of things with respect to that. So the first thing you should do before going in for an interview is research the company to ascertain if they are legit, right? And if you find out that they are not legit, of course, you know what to do. I don't need to tell you what to do. But in the case where you realize that, oh, it's one of these big names, the likes of the Google, the Apple, the oil and gas industry giants, and the FMCG giants, when you realize that, oh, this is a company that is well known, it is imperative that you research the company. And what you do by researching the company is understanding the company's mission, values, understand their product, their services, read about their recent news, their development. Because what it does is it helps you understand the values of the organization you're going to be working with and the culture of that organization. And that can also help you tailor your answers to the questions the interviewers will be asking you. I saw a post yesterday, I think on Twitter or a platform I belong to, where a candidate wore leg chains, and she had quite a number of piercings on her hair and all of that. She went in for an interview, and on that Twitter post, I think the person who posted that said she was deprived the opportunity because the MD of that organization, didn't see all of that as basically it turned her down because she was on leg chains and all of that. So it just goes to say that that candidate did not do her research well. She didn't get to research the company well to understand the culture of that organization. I mean, when you research a company, you can tell the kind of dress code that they allow. in this organization, right? And so that helps you to even prepare your mind as to what to wear and what not to wear in an interview. Okay, so having said all of that, the next thing you should do is review the job description. And sometimes when you realize that you have been invited for an interview, maybe you didn't remember applying for it, you can always request for the job description of that interview. And I mean, these days, I mean, best practice again requires that for HR professionals that would want to invite a candidate for interview, we should share the JD actually, so as to help the candidates, prepare better for the role. And so if you have all of that, it is imperative that you review the job description and take a look at the qualifications, the skills and experience the company is in need of. That way it helps you to prepare better for the questions that they would likely ask you, and then you can also highlight relevant skills that you would need during the conversation. Preparation and practice is super important. You know what they say about proper preparation leads to success. So when you don't plan to succeed, you are invariably planning to fail. And so it is imperative for you to prepare for interviews ahead of time. You can have mock interviews with your friends, you can go online, read about common interview questions, and prepare your answers in advance. What that does for you is sort of give you some level of confidence, and it helps you to also present yourself better so that you are not caught off guard during the interview. And then of course, it is also imperative that you dress appropriately. Again, researching the company would help you understand the company culture and their mode of dressing, and that helps you to better prepare yourself in terms of dressing. Also, it is imperative that, as trivial as this may sound, it is imperative that you plan your travel time and arrive at least 15 minutes before the interview, because that helps you to check in and collect your thoughts and also calm your nerve. Because guess what, the interview, no matter how bold you are, one way or the other, it can be nerve wracking, such that you are tensed and all. And so you need some time, 5 to 10 minutes, to be able to calm your nerves before you get into the interviews and be able to collect your thoughts. Now, moving on.
Is everyone still hearing Mr. Henry, or is it just me? I need to be sure whether it's my network.
I can't hear him.
Oh, okay. I thought it was my network that went off. Let me try and reach him to let him know. So we'll just give him a few seconds to join back. I'm sure it's probably internet, and he will be back shortly. But I want to say congratulations to all our winners. I mean, you joined, you responded, and you already have a free gift. I like how this our first day has begun. So congratulations to Lindaway, Jennifer, my namesake, and Daniel. Congratulations to all three of you for what you won. So definitely an email will be sent and your details will be sent to the facilitator and you get your gift. Are we getting the slides after Monday? Well, we'll have to ask the facilitator because he prepared the slides, so he has to give permission for that. But let's just give him a second to join. And of course, there's a segment for questions and answers, and I'm sure we'll be able to get that. So please let me just try reaching him again so that, in fact, he may just be talking, thinking he's still with us, not knowing he has got on. So let me try putting a call through to him. Please, let's just exercise patience. Thank you. Okay, I see that he has left, so I'm sure he's trying to rejoin. So we'll just give him a few seconds, please. All right, see what I mean? He actually has been speaking, thinking he was on the Zoom call. So he said he will join back now. So please, let's just give him a few seconds to do that. I see some people's audio are not connected. Is it Mary? I don't know if you're just joining. Maybe somebody can help her know because or if her audio is not connected, she can't hear us. So she will need to connect that. So we'll just give a few seconds for Mr. Henry to join back. It was network that knocked him off. And he said he didn't know that he was even out of the conversation because he has been talking. So we'll expect him back into the room shortly. Thank you all very much for your patience. While we are with Mr. Harry to join back, I would love to know where we are joining from. We were actually supposed to do it at the beginning of the class, but because we were running behind time, we had to get started. So I think we have a little time while we wait for him to sort it out. So I like to get a feel of the room and I like your response, very sharp. Lagos, welcome. Lagos, Nigeria. Yusuf, you're most welcome. Are we all in Lagos? Can I get in the chat box? Dear England, we are welcome. Thank you for joining us. Aminat Ibadan, you're most welcome. Hazed joining from Lagos, you're welcome. Abdurrahman from Ibadan, you're welcome. Jennifer from Asaba, interested. Chidima from Lagos, you're welcome. Lindiwe from South Africa, Pretoria, you're most welcome. All right, lovely to have all of you in the call. Hope I've not missed anybody. Just to be sure, let me scroll back again. Okay, Francisca Ibadan, you're welcome. Evelyn from Lagos, you are welcome. It's good to have you on the conversation. Mary, Ogun State, you're welcome. Welcome, 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 welcome. Okay, Mustafa is joining us from Lagos, Nigeria. If you notice, I'm avoiding the names that I hope I don't have to murder. So I'm going for the easy names. It's lovely to have you here. All right, Daniel from Enugu. Oh, lovely. So we have a winner from Enugu. We have a winner from South Africa. We have a winner from Asaba. That's a very powerful spread. You're all very welcome. Okay, is our facilitator back in the building? I'm still waiting to see. Okay. Jibril joining from Qatar. Oh, wow. All the way from Qatar. You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Oyetunji from Ibadan. Thank you for joining the conversation. And I do trust it has been beneficial so far. Well, of course, we're just getting into it. So Lawrence from Lagos. James says we don't have a winner from Lagos. We hope to well, the Lagos people have to speak very fast. So he works with the first three. So maybe next time he asks the question, just sharply answer so that we can have a winner from Lagos. Because I'm sure that giveaway was not planned. It just came. So you never know, anything can happen. All right. So are there any more people telling us where they joined in from? Okay. I don't see any new comments, but I really want to welcome and appreciate the diversity in the conversation in the comment section is really a lot. And I know there are others from other places. Honorable Elizabeth Kanem from Lagos State. This is why Lagos needs to win. I agree with you, James. Lagos needs to win because we have a lot of people from Lagos, but well, let's see how it goes. Welcome, everyone. All right, Mr. Henry, can you hear us now? Can you hear me?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can hear you. I didn't know that I was even out of the call for a
Yeah,
long time. I've been
I
speaking.
said exactly that. I said it. That's why I had to call you because I suspected that you would not have known that network had bumped you out. So yeah. So you're
I
welcome
mean,
back. We're just introducing ourselves and where we are joining from. And we have quite a spread. We have from Pretoria, we have from Qatar, we have from Lagos, we have from Ibadan, Enugu, Asaba. I hope I'm not missing anybody's before they hold me responsible. Ogun State. So it's quite a spread. We also have from the UK as well joining. So I will let you continue your class. Someone was saying that those in Lagos have not won yet. So unfortunately, so let me let you continue. All right, the floor is yours.
good in Lagos. Anyway, fingers crossed. We never can tell. There may be other freebies and goodie bags, on the call. So anticipate. Fingers crossed. I think the sharing my screen had a way of reducing my network bandwidth. So I would just take a pause
Or would
on
you want to,
that.
or would you
I
want to
mean,
turn off
after
your video?
oh, I think that works. Yeah. Someone
Yes.
is saying
Okay.
Elizabeth, you didn't call my name.
Okay, Elizabeth, I did not call you. My goodness, I must have missed your where you dropped from. I don't think I saw that in the comments because I was reading from the comments. But you are most welcome, Elizabeth.
All
Yes,
right,
so I
great.
think
So
we'll just work with slides without the video to help. Thank you.
all right, great. Now, confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, we can. We can see your
Oh,
screen.
fantastic. So I was talking about tell me about yourself as the very first conversation that sets the tone for the interview. So basically, why the recruiters get to ask this question is to basically talk about your experience. Sometimes people get to talk about their personal life and they get to also divulge information they should not during these questions. And I'm just trying to say, in essence, that when you ask this question, we basically want to understand who you are as a person and the experience you've garnered over time. Now, experience you're going to be sharing for this particular question has to be relevant to the role. I was sharing, I don't know if you heard me said that before the network threw me out, that sometimes you would have a customer service candidate apply for a customer service role, and perhaps this customer service representative or candidate has had experience in marketing or perhaps finance. And sometimes when you ask, tell me about yourself, you find out that this person is now speaking about a finance experience. I mean, it is basically out of line. So tell me about yourself is a question that you should basically tell about your experience as it relates to that particular role you're applying for. And I mentioned before the network threw me out that this sets the tone for the conversation. It makes or mar the interview process. It tells the candidate, the recruiter, if you are an ideal fit for this role. And it also gives the impression to the recruiter to tell if they should continue with this interview process or not. I don't know if you had the part where I mentioned my experience sometimes in my career where I interviewed for a particular role. And during the course of the question about tell me about yourself, I didn't know what the recruiters heard. I don't know what they heard me say, but they had to pause that particular interview and they went to call other members of their team to join the call. And so the interview turned into a training section, more like it. So, I mean, this is just to tell you the importance of this question. And now the question is, how do you answer this? So
I'm
rather
so
than
sorry.
what
Sorry, I'm so sorry to interrupt you again, Mr. Harry. So Daniel is saying you stopped at planning your interview time. So I don't know if that's before what you're saying or after it, but this part
oh
we
yeah,
haven't heard.
after it. That's
All
after
right,
it. We're not
all
talking
right,
about sample interview
all right,
questions that you should
all right. Yeah.
get familiar with and how to respond to them. So tell me about yourself is the very first question. Okay, so question is, how do you get to respond to this question so that you don't get to be sharing information that you shouldn't divulge? Now, I developed a model that has helped me and it has helped most of my clients over time, in responding to this question. And it is called the PESA model, PESA model. And what that basically signifies is the P signifies your personality and your passion. The E speaks to your experience, S speaks to your skills, and A, achievements. So when you are asked to talk about yourself, you may want to, work with this template or this model, you know, talk about your personality, your passion, what you're passionate about. Of course, it has to be relevant to the role. And then talk about your experience, talk about your skills and achievements. And of course, they have to be relevant, right? They have to be in line with the role you're applying for. And I've just developed a sample response on this part of my slide. And this is basically for a fresh graduate, entry level, more like it. So if you could see from my screen, you would see that this particular response demonstrates and it depicts the PESA model I have talked about, PESA. You can see from this response that it talks about the personality and what this person is passionate about. You can see from the response, I am a people pundit with passion for marketing and sales. People pundit speaks to the personality of this person. It speaks to the fact that this person is a people's person. And then his passion for marketing and sales also speaks volume. Recent graduate, blah 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 blah. You can see all of that, but from all of this, you could see that the person model was well captured. So if you're going to be attending your next interview and you don't know how to respond to this question, I want to crave your indulgence that this model, you may want to give it a shot. Prepare your response in line with this model, and it could be the breakthrough that you basically needed to ace your interview. Please confirm if you're following up until this point. Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Fantastic. Oh, someone is saying I am over following. Interesting. Interesting. All right. So moving on. The next question that you should expect during an interview is your strengths and your weaknesses. This is another question that everyone on this call needs to pay attention to, right? While it is easy to just talk about anything that makes you excited, that makes you feel good as a strength or maybe as a weakness, it is imperative that you just don't want to say anything that makes you feel good. Imagine you're interviewing for a customer service role and you are asked to talk about your strength, or maybe let me say weakness, and you're saying that, oh, your weakness is your ability, you don't know how to communicate fluently, and all of that. I mean, why should you be telling the recruiters that? So it just goes to say that you should be mindful of what and how you respond to this. Now, for strength, you will need to focus on strengths that are relevant to the position you are applying for. I've been in an interview panel where we asked this candidate, what are your strengths? And the candidate is telling us that I am a great cook. And in my mind, I'm like, oh, wow, beautiful. Are you coming to the organization to cook for us or what exactly? I mean, that was me being sarcastic, but it happened. It happened, right? So you don't want to talk about some vague um strengths. You basically want to focus on strengths that are relevant to the position and that highlight examples of how you have used this strength to achieve success in your previous roles. And so you will need to be specific and avoid vague answers such as, I'm a hard worker. I mean, everybody is a hard worker, but what makes you stand out? That's what you should basically talk about. And then you can also see on my screen, I developed how you can basically answer that question. So I wouldn't want to read that out because of our time, but then again, you could just take a screenshot of that and get familiar with it. So moving on to weakness, you will need to basically choose weaknesses that are not directly related to the position. And of course you need to explain. So you're not just going to be talking about your weakness, right? Because that's a trap. You don't want to tell us that I don't know how to communicate in public. It's not okay to end it there. You need to also tell us what you have done over time to improve on that weakness. And so it is imperative to explain how you have worked or you have improved upon that particular weakness. For some persons, Your weakness could possibly be that you don't know how to say no. And it's okay to have that as a weakness. But what have you done to improve on that particular area of weakness? It says a lot about your personality and if you will make an ideal fit for that role. And what it does also is, of course, you don't want to say, no, I don't have any weakness. I mean, which human being on earth doesn't have a weakness? Every one of us have our weaknesses. And so the reason we're asking this question is basically to also help us show that you are self-aware, you know yourself, and you are also willing to improve on the job. We are not looking for perfect candidates in the application process. We're rather looking for candidates who have been able over time to foremost understand their strengths, understand their weaknesses, and they are open-minded to learning and becoming a better version of themselves. That's what we look out for in the interview process, right? So you should be able to clearly articulate all of this during the course of the interview. The next question is super imperative, and I like you all to pay rapt attention. And this is the question that speaks to difficult situations you have handled. So sometimes the recruiters will want to ask you, and guess what? All of these questions may not come directly in this manner. It may come in different form, especially the tell me about yourself. And I'm going to circle back to that part of the slide. Sometimes the recruiter may want to come in a different form. He may not even say tell me about yourself. The recruiter will possibly say, okay, tell us why you are the best fit for this role. They could just come up with anything, but you should be intelligent enough to know how best to respond to this, right? And so that is why I had mentioned that it is imperative for everyone on this call to prepare adequately for interview. Memorize, practice common interview questions, because that will help you to basically not get caught off guard. Now back to this slide on difficult situations you've handled. Now this helps to test your problem solving skills, and I developed a model also that have helped me and my clients over the years to answer this question swiftly and spontaneously. And that's the STAR model. The STAR model basically is an acronym for situation as the S, the T signify task, A signify action, and R signify result. So when you are asked questions around difficult situations you've handled in your past life and all of that, you want to use the STAR model to talk about the situation, what happened, talk about the task, what did you do in that situation, speak about the action, how you took ownership, and then tell us the results you achieved. You don't just want to share the situation and the task, what you did, without telling us the key action you took. And then you don't want to also not tell us the results you achieved by, applying all of the tasks and action you did. Because what that does to you is it tells us that it gives us the impression that you are a candidate who is results driven. You are not just particular about, hey, do this particular task, and you're running up and down and all about trying to work on the task without thinking of the bigger picture in mind, which is the result. So what this does for you is it puts you as someone who basically is results oriented. And I'm not just sharing it just so that you can use it to ace interviews. I'm sharing it so that it can also help you in your various career journey, wherever you're working. If you want to deal with certain situation, this model has proven to be effective over time. The STAR model, it helps you understand the situation at hand, it helps you understand the tasks you should basically focus on, and the action you need to act on, and basically the results you would get from that. So let me know if you are following at this point. I need to see your emojis. I need to just be sure that the network has not thrown me out again. Oh yeah, Yusuf, I see you. Daniel, great, 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 great. Oh yeah, Abdul, I see your comment. Fantastic. So let's move on to the next question. Why should we hire you? This is another question that you need to basically prepare yourself for. And basically, what you should speak about is highlight your relevant skills, experience, and accomplishments that makes you a stronger candidate for this position. Now, guess what? For every role you interview for, there are up to 10 candidates, applying for that same position and basically interviewing for that position. And so you want to give your best foot forward. And so when you are asked why we should hire you, sometimes I see candidates, try to be all pity, and they tend to be emotional about this particular part. Oh, some will tell you, I need this job because, hey, my family is sick. I need this job because I need money to be able to take care of myself. All of that are good. They are nice to have. But hey, are those the things you should say during an interview? No, 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 because everybody is going through their own fair share of life. You don't know what the recruiter himself is going through during the course of that interview. So if you want to go the emotional route, it won't do you any good. You rather want to position yourself as someone who has what it takes to ace and secure that job position. You want to come off as someone who has what it takes to thrive on that role rather than coming from the emotional point of view, right? So these is basically an example of what you could use, how you could answer this particular question. I won't want to read it out because of our time so that we don't spend so much of this part of the slide, right? But then the next part of the question, right, interviewers would want to ask you during the course of an interview is, do you have any question for us? Now, you see this question, very tricky. This particular question can determine the fate of your interview. So even if you've done so well, you've responded so well to all other questions, this particular question will finally tell if you are ideal, your ideal fit for that role. I've seen candidates over time, when asked this question, will tell you, oh, thank you so much, recruiter. I don't have any question. I'm okay. Nice to have. You've just shared your thoughts. Beautiful. But hey, it just goes to say that you are not interested in that role. And for someone who perhaps he has not responded so well during the course of the interview, this particular question can give you a chance to make your way back on track in that interview process. Is someone trying to say something?
Sorry about that. He's been muted. But please, your slides. Okay, all right. Thank you.
Great, great, great. Now, so what questions can you ask recruiters during the course of the interview? And these are some of the questions. And I will just quickly highlight some of them so that we can, move on quickly. Now, first question you can see on screen is, what qualities does successful employees at your company possess? What this does is it helps you understand the kind of personality they need in that particular role. The next question, what are the challenges the company is facing? Now, this tells you that you are really interested about joining this organization, and you are willing to not just listen to the problem, but also profile solution. And so the best way you would want to ask that question is, what are the challenges the company is facing, and how do they envisage the role you are interviewing for to resolve that problem? That question is mind blowing. And trust me, there is no way you would ask that question and the recruiter will not be willing to indulge you or maybe bring you on board as a successful candidate, because it just goes to say that you are not just interested in the company about the job, or you are interested in solving their problems and providing solution. And other questions on the screen, opportunities for professional development, which speaks to the fact that you are basically interested in your professional growth as an individual. And then work life integration and all of that is also another question you should ask. Now, having said all of this, there is another question I'm going to share here that is not on this slide. Now, sometimes during the course of the interview, recruiters would ask you questions on some of your skill sets. For instance, a recruiter may want to ask you, do you know, are you proficient with Excel or some sort of tools, or maybe anything basically to test your achievement? When questions like that are thrown to you, for instance, are you proficient with Excel? Don't just tell the recruiters yes. Don't just say yes, I'm proficient with this. Go further by explaining what you have done with that particular skill and the results you have achieved over time. For every question the recruiter asks you, technical question, whatever it is, please do not fail to talk about your achievement. Don't just say what you did. Don't just tell us the tasks you took, but also talk about what you achieved. And that's why I want to refer back to the STAR model. It has been helpful over time. It has helped my clients over time, ace job interviews. And so you will need to keep that in mind. Are we following so far? I see Honorable Elizabeth is dropping emojis. Great, 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 great. Great. We are great. James and Yusuf. I mean, I see your name more often. Anyway, let's move on. Let me not say what I have in mind. Okay, let's move on. Oh, look for me. I want to believe you know what I'm talking about.
Oh boy, I already told them that anything can happen. So
I mean, I've been seeing Yusuf comment and James comment. So I think they deserve a gift. So look for me. Please also take note of their names. They would also be going with a free CV review section, yeah, from my end. Yeah,
wonderful.
so we have how many now? 4 or 5
We
of
have
them.
we have 5 of them now.
Fantastic, fantastic. All right, so let's move on. Eniola, I see your question. Can you confirm I need to add a star response to competency-based questions? Like, what software do you use? Okay, so just keep that
Yeah,
question,
we'll
right?
take the questions after. Yes.
Absolutely. So let's just quickly move on. Now, what are the actions you should take after the interview? Now, this is critical to the success of your interview. A thank you note is one of them. But guess what? If you didn't respond to the questions appropriately during the course of the interview, don't think the thank you note to do the magic for you. So everything you need to do, you need to do them browse on that interview conversation, right? So the thank you note will now further give credence to the fact that okay, this candidate is leaving a lasting impression. So your thank you note, regardless of how best you construct it, if you didn't do so well in the interview, it will just be you casting waters into the basket, and you know what that means, right? So basically the thank you note would go a long way. Sending a thank you note to the interviewer, indicating your appreciation, highlighting the key things you were able to pick during the course of the conversation, will go a long way to further determine your candidacy for the role. And also evaluate your performance. I've always said this to my clients and people I've coached over time, that the interview is not just a process for the recruiters to evaluate your skills and determine your candidacy for the role. It is an opportunity for you as an individual, as a professional who is passionate about becoming better, who is passionate about career development. It is an opportunity to also evaluate your performance vis-a-vis the current market realities. It's an opportunity for you to test how well you are doing in terms of the market, the job market. It's an opportunity for you to evaluate the places where you need to improve upon. So sometimes when you see rejection emails and all, don't take it personal. Don't be emotional about it. Evaluate your performance in the interview. Check for lapses, right? Such that the next time you're going to be approaching any interview, you are going to be learning from the mistakes of the previous interviews you've attended. And you know what they say about experience? Experience, they say, is the best teacher. And your experience also would basically help you at this point, would be your best tutor at this point when you are able to evaluate yourself to understand the areas where you possibly stumbled and areas where you didn't do well, right? That evaluation will basically help you to improve your performance in future interviews, right? And then follow up is also critical. Sometimes we see candidates interview for a week and maybe a day, and the next day they are calling the recruiter to say, hey, how far, I need to get feedback. It doesn't work that way. So the best estimated time frame you can actually reach out to a recruiter is 2 weeks after the interview. 2 weeks after the interview, you can now reach out to the recruiter to request for follow-up. That's if they did not communicate to you. The question is, will they always respond to you to tell you, hey, this is why we are not moving on, this is the process? They may not come back to you, right? But it is, you are only doing your part, right, by reaching out to them. And I mean, if they don't come back to you, it only goes to say, it only goes to describe the kind of work culture they have. So that's that about that part. Now, of course, you don't end the whole process there. You need to also continue your job search, because sometimes it may go well, sometimes it may not go well. But don't fold your arms and feel relaxed at home. I've completed this interview and so I'm waiting for the job offer. Continue the search until you eventually secure your ideal offer, and then finally learn from the experience. There is one part of the slide that is not here before we move on to the question and answer, and it is something I shared recently on my LinkedIn posts. I shared it on Monday this week, and it was as a result of things I had discovered over time interviewing candidates. Um, there are some words you shouldn't use during the course of an interview. There are some words you should not use, and I'm going to tell you why. The interview is an opportunity for you to express yourself, clearly telling the recruiters why you are the best fit for that role. And so that is an opportunity for you to sell yourself. You don't want to come off as someone who is incompetent. Everything about the interview is to ascertain your proficiency, your competency for that role. And so when you use words like I think, maybe, I guess, or I feel, as beautiful as those words may sound, they may mar the chances of you securing the opportunity you may be looking out for. So when a recruiter is throwing up a problem to you, something that you have done in your career, something they believe that you should know, and you're telling them, I think you should do it, I mean, that's putting you off already completely, because you should be able to come with your facts. You should be able to tell the recruiters the facts. You shouldn't come thinking, I think this is what it makes you sound unsure. It makes you also doubt your confidence level. So you don't want to come off as someone who is not competent for the role by putting off all of those kind of words, phrases, and all. So you want to come off as someone who is sure. And so, but then again, there are times when you will be asked questions that you don't know, you don't basically have an answer to. Question is, rather than saying I think, I feel, I guess, maybe, I'm not sure, rather than saying all of that, the best way you can actually respond to that is just tell the recruiter, oh, that's a great question, I would need to explore that further, but here's what I do know. Did you hear what I just said? That's a great question. Oh, you are acknowledging the fact that, oh, you have listened to the question. Oh, I will need to explore that further. It shows that, oh, you may not have the complete answers at that point, but hey, you are open to learning by researching even after that conversation. But at that point in time, this is what I know about this. That puts you as somebody who is self-aware that I may not know this thing, but this is the little I know about it, and I'm willing to go the extra mile to research about this particular conversation. Does this make sense? Does this make sense, please? Oh yeah, I can see. Oh, someone is saying I can't hear you well. Oh really? Is that the same for everybody? Oh yeah, I can see other people are saying they can actually hear me. So I think it's a thing with your network. It makes sense. Great, 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 great. Thank you so much. Now, at this juncture, I am done talking, and now I'm going to be passing over the virtual microphone to you all, my incredible audience. Now, this is a time for you to ask your questions, and I'll be more than willing to indulge you.
Thank
Right. So, Fumi, do you want to help us with some of the questions that has
I
been?
am so sorry. I've been speaking. I didn't know I was muted.
Oh wow, wow, wow. Oh.
Speaking since you finished. All right, thank you. I was saying thank you very much, Mr. Henry, for all you've shared. And I was asking our participants to drop it in the chat box, appreciating our facilitator. He has tried to compress as much as he could in the time available, but it was really packed. I mean, questions like, I think personally, even that tell me about yourself, I struggle with it. So can we just put our virtual hands in the chat box and appreciate Mr. Henry for all that he has shared so far. Thank you so much. All right, so I'm trying to look through the questions because I know there were some that dropped before you went off the conversation, and I know you wouldn't have seen them. Just give me a second. Okay. All right, so Oluwatomisin had asked, what if a candidate ticks all the boxes for the job description, but is not top-notch with boldness?
Okay, so I think we should just address it as it comes, right? I mean, I had mentioned before we got to this point that no matter how best you communicate and think on the spot, your boldness is everything you need in an interview. And I had mentioned how you can basically um, derive the boldness from, which is basically from your preparation and then from you being self-aware, right? Knowing your strength. You know, one thing about knowing your strength is it just gives you this level of confidence that I may not be good in this, but there is this part of me that I'm good at. It gives you this self-confidence, right? So one of the it's just imperative for you to develop your boldness. And yeah, I mean, there are people on this call who are naturally shy. Okay, before you go in for interviews, I mean, you will need to really work on yourself. And what the best way to do that is to practice. You need to practice, look into the mirror, and even speak affirmative words to yourself. All of those things has a way of improving your self confidence. Okay, I don't know if I'm able to respond to that. We could just take the next question. Olufumi, are you saying anything?
So sorry again, my apologies. So Abdurrahman is asking, sir, what if you don't have any experience about the role?
Truth of the matter is, if you don't have an experience about the role, the fact that the recruiter invited you for that interview says a lot. It means there's something about you they saw that made them invite you for that role. So don't write yourself off completely by saying I don't have experience. There's something they saw in your resume, in your CV that made them invite you for that role. So, which is why I shared the things you should do before the interview, which is basically, I think I should stop sharing my slide at this point, which is basically the things you should do before getting into the interview. Prepare yourself, read the job advert, read the job description, and think through what you've done over time. I've always said it times on number to my client that no experience is a waste. Before I transitioned into human resource, I was basically an ICT person, yeah. So I already had a budding career in ICT, right? But while I was doing my ICT things, there were things, and this is what we call transferable skills. There were things I was doing that are basically people related, and so that was those were basically those transferable skills helped me to transition well to human resource. So why am I sharing this experience? There are things that you possibly may have done, right, that may not directly speak to that experience on that particular role, but one way or the other it aligns. So you just need to be able to read through the job description and evaluate yourself, look at the CV you are used to apply for that role, and see how you can basically convince the recruiter that you are an ideal fit for that role.
All right, thank you very much. So speaking about slides, we do have people asking if they can get your slides, so you can answer that later. But we have a question here from Yukira. She says, for a scheduled virtual interview, are you supposed to put on your video during the interview, regardless of the recruiter not communicating that you should, and he or she not putting theirs on?
All right, I'm going to share the best practice, right? So best practice during a virtual interview is for both parties to turn on their videos. If there are cases where they don't want you to turn on your videos, they would basically communicate. But best practice, the recruiter has to turn on their videos so that they can put a face, so you can put a face to who you're speaking to, and you also as a candidate turning on your videos to also put a face to, so the recruiters can also put a face to who they're speaking to.
All right, thank you very much. Oluwatomosi is asking, how best do you handle a technical interview?
I'm
Sorry,
glad
before,
you. Yeah,
okay.
go on.
Now, I wanted to say, please, if you have questions, maybe you want to ask directly, you can just raise your digital hand and I'll call you once it's time. But I think you can take this question, sir.
Great, thank you. So I'm glad you said technical interview. The best way to handle technical interview is get technical experience, right? That's where it all begins. Okay, so there are questions that would basically come up from the technical nitty-gritties around the particular role. So the best way to handle, and that's why the STAR model would always come handy. STAR model would always come handy when it comes to dealing with competency based and even technical based question. And recall I had mentioned earlier that, for instance, Excel in itself is a technical skill. If you're asked, can you use Excel? Don't just say yes. Tell the recruiter yes and take a step further by explaining what you have done with Excel, also highlighting your achievement. That's the best way you can handle technical interview. For every technical question you ask, don't just tell them theoretical knowledge. Give them experiential knowledge, something you've done within that field, and what you have achieved doing all of that. I want to believe I've been able to respond to your question, Oluwatosin.
All right, thank you very much. All right, I think that will be all the questions. Please, just in case I missed your question, this is a good time to drop it in the chat box or raise your digital hand if you want to ask the question yourself. I just want to be sure I haven't missed anybody's question. But currently, James is asking, okay, what should I do when I'm asked? What should I do when I'm asked a question I know nothing about? Tahir, I don't know if you got that
Can you hear
question.
me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. So what you should do if you are asked
A
questions
question.
you don't know anything about, it's okay to let the recruiter know that. Again, I'm going to circle back to the final thing I said before I wrapped up the conversation around my slides. When you're asked, you don't want to come off as someone who doesn't even know it at all. The reason the recruiter is asking you is because it is something that relates to your role. But in a case where you don't actually know, it's okay. It's not a bad place to be at all. but you need to be honest with the recruiter to say, oh, I don't know this thing actually. But you don't want to say entirely that you don't know what it is. Just share if it's something that requires, and that's why I mentioned that one of the things we do with questions during interviews to test your ability to think on the spot. So you don't want to come up and say, I don't know it, and that's all. No, 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 no. Share a little of what you know about that question and move on. And the best way to do that is I'm going to repeat that phrase. I didn't put it on my slide, and it was intentional so as to see those that are basically going to follow this section up to the end. And I'm going to say that again. You may want to write it down or something. You would say, that's a great question. I would need to explore that further. But here's what I do know about whatever the question is. I mean, you can also check my profile on LinkedIn. That was my most recent post. I made that post on Monday. So you may want to refer to my LinkedIn profile. Of course, from time to time, I get to share some conversations around interviews and all on my profile. So you can just do well to reach out to me on LinkedIn and follow me on LinkedIn.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, let me see if there's any other question.
Someone is asking what's the highest number of questions you can ask a recruiter. Of course, you can ask as many as you want to, but please, I mean, the maximum you should ask is 3. Please don't go beyond 3. But then again, it all depends on the rapport you're having with the recruiter during the course of the conversation.
Interviewer.
Oh yeah, can I share my
All right.
LinkedIn profile? Okay, I could just quickly type it. Okay. Okay, I'll
Okay.
just drop my LinkedIn profile. Yeah, I see some
Okay,
of you
yes.
already.
Yes, please. All right, so Mr. Henry, they're still asking if they can get the slides.
Oh yeah. I will share the slides to your email so you can also do. I want to believe there's a community for everyone on this call, right? So you can always share it on, your platform, as it were, so
Okay.
as everyone can access it.
Okay, now, so because I like to, when people give effort, because this session we have actually over 100 people registered on this call, and I think we had about that something at some point. So we don't want to, I mean, this should be a special reward for those of you who joined the
Right.
conversation. If you want the slide, yes, exactly. So if you want the slide from Mr. Henry, please reply the email that came with the Zoom link asking for the slide. I will send it to you. All right. So that we don't just, you understand. So just send, reply the email and say, oh, please, the slide from today's class, and you will definitely get it. Is that all right? Thank you all very much. All right. So Mr. Henry has dropped his LinkedIn profile in the chat box. So please do well to connect with him. Trust me, he offers several other things that will be beneficial to you. I know this time that we've had is just a very short time. So please connect with him and take advantage of every other thing that he has. Mr. Henry, thank you so much. I don't see any more questions and I don't see any hands up. We really want to appreciate you for your time. Thank you once again for coming on board to be a part of this career development bootcamp. Of course, we look forward to inviting you again, maybe for some other topic, but thank you for being on board this one. Please, everyone, can we just drop? I can see some of you already sending, I want slide. You are so sharp. Oh my goodness. Like, I'm getting an email notification. I want slide for today. Fantastic. I'm very happy for you. So I can see the people who have sent the email already so far. So we'll definitely send it to you once Mr. Henry sends it to us. And for those of you who want the free CV, Evelyn, yes, we said reply the email and get, if you know what, let me do something just in case there are some of you that joined from elsewhere. This is the email to send the request for the slides to. Very important. So just in case, I have dropped the email in the chat box. Those of you that probably didn't join through that, the Zoom link that was shared. So you can just send an email requesting for the slides. Some of you are already doing that, so but I've dropped it for the benefit of those. So Mr. Henry, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for being a part of us. Again, the chat box, I've been saying thank you, very insightful, highly insightful, amazing. Thank you for your time. So again, we appreciate you and we look forward to welcoming you back probably for something else. And it's our hope that, okay, some people are joining via other people. That's not a problem. That's why I have dropped the email, Aisha, so you can just send an email and you will get the slides. That's not a problem. So thank you, Mr. Henry. So everyone, we have officially come to the end of today's session. You can see it's not a very lengthy one. So tomorrow we are having the second one for this boot camp. It's, it's a weekend boot camp. So it's Saturday and Sunday by 5 p.m. So we're having the next one tomorrow, Sunday, by 5 p.m. as well. And of course, you see how Mr. Henry already started it. I can tell you that it definitely is not going to, excuse me, the pace is definitely not going to drop and you want to be a part of it. So if there are some of you who probably joined by maybe through someone, if you are yet to register, you might want to register so that you can get direct communication rather than just joining through someone. So tomorrow we're going to be talking about career growth, positioning yourself for promotion. I mean, today, Ms. Ira has told us how to get the job. So when you get the job, how do you position yourself for promotion? Sometimes people stay in a job 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and they don't get a promotion. They're just there. So, but tomorrow we're going to be learning how to position yourself for promotion at whatever job, even if you're currently there or if you're looking to get a new job, it's one class you don't want to miss. So thank you all again for joining. And I think we can officially wrap it up and say good night or good evening or good morning, wherever you're joining us from. So once again, thank you all very much. Mr. Henry, thank you again. We appreciate you. We appreciate your time. We look forward to receiving the slides. Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you very much.